Hello everybody and welcome to the Sulky show. I'm here myself this week. There's no Darren because he is at Newcastle races doing his proper job and he has left me in charge of proceedings. So I'm hoping these two guys that I've got with me tonight are going to go really easy on me because I'm having to run the whole show myself. I'm joined this week by Tir Prince's racing manager, Ayr Witherspoon. Hello, Eric.
Hello, how are you doing? You okay? Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Eric. And I'm also joined by superstar young driver, Stephen Lees, whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday, Stephen.
Thank you. Thanks.
Happy birthday, Stephen.
I did text you earlier and say, bring cake. Did I not? I'm sure I mentioned cake for the Sulky show tonight.
Unfortunately, someone's ate all the cake. I don't know who, like.
Not somebody that's maybe driving on Sunday that should be keeping off the cake because, you need to keep your dad.
Might have been. Might have been.
So 16 today. 16 today, Stephen. And last week, whilst you were still 15, you drove your first winner.
Yeah. It was brilliant. I couldn't believe it. Like my mum said, when you don't expect them, it's the best when you don't expect it. I didn't think I was going to win off the 8-hole. I didn't think I was going to get that close to him when Watson galloped. I didn't realise he just moved to the front, and it was great, unbelievable.
Reggie took you to the front. Obviously, I wasn't at Tir Prince. Eric, you were there to see it, but I wasn't at Tir Prince last week, which I was quite disappointed about. Actually, I wanted to be there for this big first win. But from your point of view, Eric, when you were watching the race, did you think before the race, did you think that Stephen had a chance?
Yes, he did. I really fancied him. I thought he was on the class horse in the race, and I must say, I did lose my professionalism as he was moving down the back straight. I was shouting out the commentary box, cheering him on. It was a good moment. It was probably the highlight of the season for me. I was absolutely delighted, and the horse went super. I mean, he clocked 2 minutes, and his performance, I think, makes him a real contender for Sunday as well. Really, I don't want to put pressure on him, but I mean that was a tidy performance because he was held up a bit. Obviously, it got a bit rough early on, and if I can remember it now, I think it was as they were coming into the home straight the first time, Stephen just pulled out 3 wide and kicked on, and never stopped. It was good. It was really good. But I did fancy him a little bit. Yeah.
And Stephen, obviously, you've driven Reggie a couple of times. You've obviously done your tests on him at York. And then you were in a couple of races with him, having not got to the winner's circle the first couple of attempts. Did you think those runs kind of gave you a little bit more experience? Do you think maybe it was you taking time to get used to being in those race conditions with him?
Yeah, it was. The qualifiers, I think, helped a lot, but I was always off the front in the qualifiers. I was always at the front, near the front by the quarter. And the way when you get out there behind the gate and you have, say, the first time I had Alan Aythornwaite and Mel Langford around me, and they're 2 top class drivers, and I'm surrounded by them. But when the gate goes away, the thrill just when they run away from you. And the second time I had horses surrounded me. I had horses coming across the front of me, behind me on my wheels. It was speechless.
Did you get any sound advice off your parents before you went on the track? Specifically your dad, before Sunday they're going out on the track. What did he tell you to do anything? Did he just tell you to go out and enjoy yourself? What was the advice you were given?
Go out, enjoy yourself. Good luck. They didn't say it. Not much, but I ask him a lot before when I find out what I'm in with in the card. I ask him a lot.
We were talking before we went on here, before we started recording this, we were talking about how after the race, when you went to go and get your post-race interview with Darren, you just casually threw the reins at your dad and were like, yeah, just take the horse off, Dad, I've got an interview to do. As if you treated the great Stevie Lees with like you're some professional driver in America. Here, take the horse. I've got a job to do here. I'm getting interviewed.
Yeah. I don't think I've got. I just gave him the race, just threw him to him, and went off to the mic, and yeah.
I think it was impressive, Stephen, because obviously you're a C-class driver. Was that your second ever start in a proper race?
Third.
Third. And obviously, like you say, it was all going on around you. The horse broke, yeah, and do you think you probably acted on instinct more than anything? Because you certainly looked like you did to pull him out and just go past like that. You didn't panic.
Well, I was actually going before Watson galloped. I was going to go as we straightened up to get around Mel and then get close to the front. And then Watson galloped, and I was already moving. He was already rolling when everyone was get hauled up. So it was pretty handy, really.
Yeah, these things just happen.
Fell into place right at the exact moment, but you were making the move anyway, so you kind of committed to that as it was. It's just Watson obviously made it a little bit easier for you. And that kind of leads us on really to the race on Sunday. You and Reggie partner up again now. That win last week, is that the last of the heats of the divisions of the Star Makers? That's what propelled you to the final. That is what I would say is probably the feature race, although there are a number of top events on Sunday at Tir Prince, but possibly the feature event, the last race on the card at Tir Prince on Sunday, the Tir Prince Star Makers Series final. Stephen, you and Reggie are drawn 3, obviously coming into the race in really good form. How have you prepared for this? How do you, like, have you looked through the other runners in the race? Have you looked at maybe their previous runs as well to try and figure out how the start of the race is going to go? Have you got a plan of attack kind of thing?
That's all I've been doing all week. Looking, I have desktop open on Google of every horse, their previous runs, the times they've been doing, and what they've been doing, where they've been finishing. That's all I've been doing all week.
And in terms of, sitting with your dad and whatever, he's got plenty of drives on the card as well. You've got the drive here. Have you and him come up with a game plan? Is there sort of a plan A, how you want it to pan out, and then if you've got like a backup plan if things don't go as you want them to, maybe let's say the first 8th or the first quarter of the race?
Well, I won't mind everyone else galloping, and letting me just sneak away. But I want to lead out, really. Try and get a good spot. I don't want to make you
commit too much. I don't want you to give away all the secrets, but obviously with a draw like 3, you must have been watching the draw with Darren live on Facebook the other night and thinking, when you've got draw 3 there, it's not a bad draw to have at Tir Prince. Very often a draw 3, 4 or 5 can lead out quite comfortably. If you think you've got the gate speed, you must have looked at the 2 horses inside you now to try and figure out if you can maybe clear them by the first bend.
Yeah, like when I thought I'd drawn 8, this is miles out. But when you're actually out there, you're not that far out. You're not as far out as it looks, as it sounds. You're near, you're close. You can try and get a good spot, but with 3, it's a lot. I've been quite jammy, really, because I've got 2 horses that I beat last week on the inside of me, so I should have a good chance to lead out.
Give you a bit of confidence there. Of the horses that are drawn outside of you, probably maybe thinking your biggest dangers, if there was one horse in the race that you could pick to say, that's the horse I really am going to have to fight to beat, which horse would it be?
Passion. It's Passion, I would say. What was it? Last time, not last time, the time before when she was following me. And as we swung off up the straight for the last time, she just come past me like I was stood still. The turn of foot she has is absolutely amazing. She flew past me. She's a good mare, that is for sure. But she was the danger that I think anyway.
So you think Reed's Passion ever miraculous? I would have thought. I mean, looking at it on paper, looking at maybe the performances the last few starts, I'd have maybe said miraculous. A lot of people do plan miraculous for this, but you've been in the race. You've been in the races alongside these other horses, so you're getting a different perspective to someone like me that's watching it trackside or watching a video, and you pick Reed's Passion there as your biggest danger. But there's top quality horses in the field. The dangers probably are coming everywhere, but you yourself are on as good a chance as any, I would say, with Reggie, and he knows his job. He's won at Tir Prince enough times, and he's certainly, like I said, coming into the race in really good form. Eric, we'll start at the last race card, really, and maybe work our way back.
Yeah.
Where do you?
Yeah, no problem.
How do you see the Star Makers final panning out? I mean, 8 horses. It's been a great series so far.
I'm pleased with it. Happy with the way it's worked out. It's been good. I see that race. They all seem to be going in and around the 2-minute mark, don't they? Maybe a touch under. I think obviously Ayr Regal went 2 minutes last week from the 8th draw. I would expect him to do something similar again this week, probably lead out. Wellfield Warlock has been running really well. He was running really well at the start of the year. I think he went 58 at York. He was race timed in 58. And then I speak to Michael a fair bit, and he said he thought he'd gone off the boil a little bit. And I was at Mike's stables last week doing a bit of recording for the stream, and I actually said to him, "You do know that everyone else I've been to see and do one of these has had a winner on the card." And the only horse we didn't go to the stable to see was Wellfield Warlock, and he won. So I think Warlock's a big danger. I think if the race pans out, he loves to follow a horse. I think if the race pans out, I think Michael will try and get a trip in behind. He'll be coming late. Another horse that I think is crying out for a bit of cover is Miraculous. He's been mugged in the straight 3 times at Tir Prince this year. And I mean literally in the straight. He led in a preferred race that we had in a meeting in July. Lakeside Paddy come and chinned him on the line. And then last week, obviously, Wellfield Warlock did it to him. And then he was leading in the first Star Makers heat, and Passion came and got him. So, sort of leading isn't really working out for him at Tir Prince. It doesn't seem to be anyway. So, I think I'd like to see him get a bit of cover, and he'll be a big danger. Passion was so impressive, as Stephen just said, in that first heat. She's had a few races since, mares heats, running Saturday, running Sunday, gone a bit off the boil. If Sally's managed to freshen her up, obviously she'll be a big danger. And Air Pioneer was really impressive when he had the same sort of trip as well. It's interesting because he had the same sort of trip that Warlock had last week. He sat on the inside and come out, was produced late and won. So it's a good race. I think Ayr Regal, Wellfield Warlock, Miraculous, Reed's Passion, and Air Pioneer from the 7 draw. I think you could literally throw a coat over them depending on how it's run. I've just got a sneaky feeling for Wellfield Warlock after the way he went last week. I think if I'd love to see Ayr Regal win, and Stephen, of course I would. I'd love to see any of them win. But how I see the race panning out, I could just see Warlock coming in late. After the way he went last week, I can see him coming in late. So
I wouldn't be inclined to agree with you there, to be honest. Ayr Regal, Wellfield Warlock both coming into the race off the back of wins at Tir Prince last week. I think maybe possible scenario is that Stephen and Reggie lead out, and you've got Wellfield Warlock coming into Michael, who is a known driver to try and drive the last eighth of a mile the strongest. He could be the horse in Ayr Regal down the straight. I personally will be cheering Stephen on. I'm going to say it now, head and
of course, and so will I. And so will I.
We have to say that anyway because we are here, but I would be saying it even if you weren't so. And that kind of leads us through to the rest of the card. I don't know, logically, we should maybe go back to the start and work our way through now. Race 1 and back the way.
Yep, you're in charge.
It would help if I was looking at the right card because I'm actually looking at York instead. So, good job at that. Race 1, Tir Prince Maiden Novice. 11 horses in this Maiden Novice race. Eric, you probably had a more of a look through it than I have. I have scanned through it.
I have, yeah, I've been through it. There's obviously the maidens going with the novices this week, and I think the novices look a fair bit stronger, to be honest with you. Out of the maidens, Oakwood Bandit, I bought him a couple of weeks ago to race to the end of the season with. He went well enough last week, 2-6. Don't think that's going to be good enough to win this. Check on Dancer, improved a bit last week, finished full of running. He went 8s the week before, 6s last week's on the improve. Those, to me, look the 2 strongest maidens. You get into the novices then, and the novices get quite interested. I don't know whether you watched any racing from last week, Sarah, but Hasty Art was very unlucky in the novice race. She was crying out for racing room, finished full of running, came up on the inside in the end, and finished second. And she is a horse she's been consistently clocking around that 2-3 mark. And last week, she showed me something last week that suggested that she's really ready to win. But another horse there is Jackson Hall. I mean, you were at York last week, Sarah. I was watching the stream at home. And to all intents and purposes, I thought he had Raymond Camden's number coming around the last. I don't know what it looked like live. Certainly on the screen I was watching, I thought he was going past him. And I don't know whether it was more a case of Rocker digging in on Raymond Camden and finding more, or Jackson Hall didn't quite go through with it. I'd have to watch it again, but he certainly went well and he clocked a decent 2-2. Don't know a lot about Get Me Out of Here. West End magic. I know the Harrops think a lot of that, but he's galloped a couple of times. And Conor McGregor, really, he's had some terrible trips, Conor McGregor, in the last 2 weeks since he's been here. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Alan, he seems to have had to do all the work in the last 2 times he's finished second, Conor McGregor. He seems to have, he's had to make the move, he's had to make the running, try and push the front runner, and he's just run out of steam. I think in an 11-horse field like that with some good horses in there, I think Alan will be looking to let somebody else do some of the work and come and produce him late. So, third time lucky, I'm going to go with Conor McGregor there.
You're going Conor McGregor. I know he's been plagued by really bad draws all season. I think last week was possibly, I think he was drawn 2 last week. That was maybe the best draw that he's had for a long time, and yet couldn't quite get there. And I know Louise Fresson, who's Chris Heaton's partner, has been quite disappointed with the draws. Gets a good draw and says maybe he just got frightened at the sight of the gate, because he's just not seen the season. So we'll wait and see how he drives that. Jackson Hall, I think Hall there with that Raymond Camden race. It was a strange race to watch because Raymond Camden did a lot of work, and he looked like he was going to get swallowed up by 3 or 4 horses. They were coming down.
He did. He looked all out.
But dug in, and I don't know if it was a 2-horse battle to the line, and it was between him and Jackson Hall. I maybe would have said Jackson Hall maybe collapsed there a little bit, and it made Raymond Camden look better. But the fact of the matter is that there were 3 horses. There were definitely 3 horses coming at Raymond Camden.
Yeah, it was a funny race. Yeah,
went on and won the race, and I wouldn't say that 3 horses all collapsed coming to the line. So for me, the horses maybe just dug in right as he was getting to the line. So maybe that actually, Jackson Hall off the back of that with the time as well. Maybe that's actually a reasonable performance coming into this race. Hasty Heart and Dare to Dream. These are 2 horses, Ivan Davis and James Gleed. I have to mention this. My brother is friends with the 2 of them. And there is an unbelievable level of competitiveness between Ivan Davis and James Gleed with these 2 horses. They keep landing in races together all the time. And I don't think either of them care if they win the race as long as they beat the other.
Got to finish above each other, yeah.
Competition that I really like with people. So I'll be interested to see Hasty Art probably off the back of last week's run, maybe in with a chance this week as well. I think you could be right, maybe stronger than the maidens this week.
Yeah.
Race 2 leads us on to a trot, a 5-horse trot. Univers de Creme, Black Williams, Espoir Lila, Eliothrop and Bacateur. Small field, which is not what we're used to really with the trotters. We're used to seeing far bigger fields with these. Maybe makes it easier for one of us to try and pick a winner.
Do you know what? It's a trappy race, though, even though there's only 5 in it. Univers de Creme's last week, 10-yard trail, led all the way. Mile and a quarter, trotted really well. Black Williams is a horse that you took a great photograph earlier on in the season in the qualifiers, drawn out wide, leading out, drawn right off the rail. I remember that, and I liked the look of him then. I think they've had a few niggles with him, but he's done well. I think he's trotted 3:10 at York over a mile and a half. Similar performance is going to put him right up there. Espoir Lila won a race in 3:10 at York. Elliot Thorpe beaten odds on favourite last week. Slight doubt over whether he quite stays the distance of a mile and a half, but he's knocking on the door all the time. And Bacateur has won a race as well, so I could feasibly make a case for any of them, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, if pushed in terms of this, I'd probably go with Black Williams.
Yeah, Black Williams, you mentioned there, a winner. I think he was a winner earlier in the season. I think it was over a mile. I had it in my head that Black Williams was a bang mile trotter. I just didn't think he could get the distance out. I know that Reen's partner Becky had actually started to break, well, he was broken into the saddle, but was doing some non-racing work with him. That was during the winter. Brought him back in, and he ended up winning a race at Almond Valley, and I think he was the winner of the Charlie Bisset Memorial Series at Almond Valley. He was quite
he was
winner at York last week. He came very, very.
Yeah, that was a mile and a half, was it?
I think it was a mile and a half last week, which that surprised me. He wasn't a horse that I had really given much consideration to in that race. I actually focused in on the wrong horse coming to the finish line as well, because I just didn't see the horse coming as strong as he was. And Darren's
that was a good finish, yeah.
Bacateur's done all right the last couple of starts, and Univers de Creme comes back off an injury and has come back, has won, comes into the race in form. I think a fairly reliable horse, really. I mean, they're all reliable horses. You're talking 5 horses there across their last 5 starts. We've got 3 disqualifications across 15. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 starts.
Yeah.
Thank you. My maths. Right. 25 starts, 3 disqualifications. Wide open race, and I wouldn't like to pick one. If I was being forced, I think maybe I'd go with you, Black Williams, off the back of that run at York last week.
Yeah.
That would maybe be my fancy.
Yeah, and Freem Wilson and Joby Randall, they've had a winner most weeks have been. To be fair to them, that much.
Race 3, the Tir Prince Open Preferred Handicap, another 11 runner event. Talk me through your fancied horses in this one.
GD's Honey went really well last week. I watched the video a few times. Stevie tried to lead with her, ended up parked, took back, sat too wide, just couldn't get himself a place to on the rail. Tried everything he could to get on the rail, couldn't. Ended up parked, and she finished strong, finished fourth. So I really liked the way that he went. She's unfortunate to be in with grade 6s and 7s this week, really, because I think if she'd been in her own grade, I would have really fancied her to win. I think that Colford Mystery has been fairly consistent. He's been very consistent. Third last 3 times he's been here, clocking around that 2-1, 2-1, 2-2 mark. Ladyford Express paced 2 minutes here and won last time out, 14-1, I think he was. He loves the track. James Masty's Holstar wins well at York. Always seems to finish in the frame at York. Ring of Fire, I think, is one of the most talented horses in the country. I actually saw him do a piece of work one day when the track was closed, which would put him into free-for-all class. For whatever reason, he just has niggles and different things. But one of these days, he'll turn up and people will go, "Where has that performance come from?" But I'm expecting it. Because, like I say, I was fortunate enough to see a training performance one of the days. Madgy's Lad last week did a 28 quarter coming home, stone last, and went real nice. Actually, I asked Alan Nathan about it in the week, and I said he's gone some horse, and because the week before he was beaten favourite, or certainly a beaten fancied horse, but he likes to come from the back like that. Alan said he won a similar race at York, and if they go off hard in front and start coming back to him, he really gets on his job then. And obviously, Paparazzi won the Anto Russell Memorial, 158. You know, I mean, I know the lights, but he went that fast, he switched the lights out. But I'd be interested to know. I haven't seen any videos of what he's been like at Corby Wood since. So you might be able to help me with that, because I know one time he pulled up and another time he was third. So be interested to know about that. But for the purposes, I'm going to have to go with one of the back horses. And after Madgy's Lad's performance last week, I'd stick with this. I'm going to stick with him because I think he'll get his pace up front again. I think they'll go a little bit up front. Probably Air Elegance. GD's Honey will try and lead. Richard will take him on. I think they'll go a decent clip, and I think he might get a chance to run his race so he wants it again.
I'll be honest, Eric, I'm reading the race relatively similarly to you. I do think the winner's coming off one of the back markers. I just think with I'm not going to call it a golfing class as such, but with the difference in the grades when you get into the preferred race, I do think the quality lies in those back horses. You mentioned GD's Honey there. Stephen, what can you tell us about GD's Honey preparation this week? And is Eric right to suggest that your dad's going to try and lead out with her?
I'm not too sure, really. I haven't really asked him about Honey, but I've always asked about Reg. But like Eric said, she's been really unlucky. She got caught up the second last time out. Last time she just got parked the full trip. She's an unlucky horse, but I think she's a bit step up in class here. So with Ayr Paparazzi and Madgy's Lad,
she'll win a race in the next few weeks.
Well, like I say, I've read the race not too dissimilar to you, Eric. I do think that GD's Honey is likely to go forward at the start. Just Stevie's style of driving in general, and the way he's driven her in the past over the past couple of seasons, I think that's his go-to move will be that. And I don't think he's going to have too much inside him to really battle. I think maybe one or two. You mentioned Air Elegance. I'm not convinced that Brian Vacation, Max Mustad, and Michael Starr with Lane High Skill probably isn't to go too hard into the first bend either. When you look at the back markers or the middle kind of grade horses, Ladyford Express does do well at the track. I have to give the horse credit there. Joby and has had a great deal of fun with Ladyford Express and has won there before. Obviously, what you would call back markers. Macy Hallstar, you're probably right. She does seem to do a lot of her best work at York. And Madgy's Lad is one of the most consistent horses in the country. He does his time every time. It just depends on how much traffic he's got to deal with and how the race pans out. And I have got to be really, really in favour of Caparazzi on this. I know you've mentioned there the last 2 starts at Corby with the pulled up, a horse broke in front of him, going into the first bend, coming out of the second bend into the home straight. When that horse broke and took back, Joseph had to pick Caparazzi back. He then took a misstep and broke, and actually broke a hobble and was pulled up, because once the hobble broke, he couldn't pace after that anyway. He was unsettled and he wasn't able to keep going. So he made the right decision to pull him up at that point. Came back to Corbywood there. Went a speedy first half in the Anto Russell Memorial last week, due to more than anything the fact that he had Rob Hall in the race basically on his shoulder. First challenge came from Rob Hall, who was the ultimate winner of the race. It was just off the back of not having enough racing. I think that pulled up 2 weeks prior to that, not being just 100% race fit, just faded in a stretch. And Lady Mary was another one that passed him coming home. But that run will probably have brought him on. He is the highest grade horse in the race. 11 is not a good draw, but sitting behind Stevie Lee's and GD's Honey, of the horses that are on the gate, that would be the one I'd want to be following.
That'd be the best draw, yeah.
Yeah, so yes, he's got a bad draw, but to me, he's the quality horse in the field. The last time he ran at Tir Prince was obviously absolutely phenomenal. People are still talking about that now, and it's not. I'm not just clinging onto it because he's not done anything in between. It was such an impressive performance.
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely.
So, I'm really impressed by one of the best performances of the season.
I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree. And it'd be interesting to see him coming off the back this time as well, because I think he led the last time, didn't he? And the time before, when he went really, really well, just got beat, didn't he? Frankie B came and beat him, I think. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see him come off the back. But yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. I mean, it could easily go either way.
Right, well, there we go. We were agreeing, but we've also picked different horses, so technically we're disagreeing. But there we go.
Yeah.
Race 4, we've got another trot. 6 horses face the starter here. Stephen, your dad has got a horse in this race, Belle de Noyac.
Yeah, she's every race she's in. I think she's a difficult mare. She pulls, and you can't predict her. She's one of them that does what she wants to do when she wants to do it. Typical mare, to be honest with you. But she's in with that. There's Dismaui. That's won 5 on the bounce now. So she's in with Tough Crowd. She should stay on. She's been doing good. Been getting good placing. She's been getting a check every week. You can't fault her really, but she's just unpredictable.
Unpredictable, but in with a small chance, we think, perhaps. Eric, how do you read it? I mean, Stephen's obviously mentioned Dismaui there, who's coming into the race off tremendous form, having won at Amma Valley, York and Tir Prince. So fairly versatile across all distances and now across all tracks as well. Do you say that's probably the beat in the race?
I think she's a very, very, very short odds-on favourite. I spoke to, obviously, we've all seen her trot. I mean, the last time she won at Tir Prince off 20-yard trail, it was impressive. And I'd already I'd been to Dave Taft's stable that week to do a stable tour, and he'd indicated that he thinks she's special. He thinks she's a real special mare. And so I took a particular interest in watching her that night because he'd said it. And yeah, I think she's a really, really good thing in this race. I mean, you never know with a trotter; they can always make a mistake. But I think if she trots, I think she wins comfortably.
I think I'd have to agree with you. I'll be honest. Comes into the race the best form. Looks to be ultra consistent as well. Cerise de Bruet was a winner last week at York with Alan driving, I think. It's difficult to remember which horses are driven by who when you've got so many horses from kind of the Quinn stable. But Dismaui, I think we have to take her very seriously here. And Phil O'Neill having a great year driving these trotters as well, both at York and Tir Prince. He's enjoying the success he's having.
Doing well.
Yeah. Not just with his own horse, but also with Dave Taft's trotters as well.
Of course, yeah. I think, Sarah, looking at it, I think it's a great betting without race, isn't it, really? Because if you took Dismaui out of it, I think all the others there, I think it'd be a decent betting race without, to be honest with you. And I hope the online bookmakers do bet without in that, to be honest.
Okay, on to the next race, the Tir Prince Star Makers Consolation Final. So these are the 8 horses that didn't make the main Star Makers Final. They're the next kind of category of 8. Still a quality figure, Eric, looking at it. Still a really, really solid race horses in here. And to me, quite a competitive race.
I love this race. I love the way that it's come together. Talking through the field, Enter the Dragon dropped in class last week. Pace 2-1, finished second to Stephen on Reggie, but went well amongst the pack. Obviously, Stephen slipped the field, but went really well. And I was pleased to see the horse get a rosette, to be honest with you. And I'm intrigued to see how he'll go here today. You know, drawn 1. I hope he gets a decent spin, because I think the handicap mark that he's got is harsh, and I think he deserved a chance to have a good spin round last week. And I think he'll get more chances before the end of the season. Plan B, couldn't believe it the other day when I checked. Plan B hasn't won at Tir Prince this season. Over half his lifetime's ones have come to the track. I always call him a track specialist, and he's done all his winning at York this year. Don't know why that is, whether it's the track serviced or what, or track's been very soft the last few weeks. And he did go quite well last week. He finished 3rd. He's had a lot of racing, but I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to be somewhere near Plan B drawn 2 in a big race like this. Tarawood will.
Doesn't look like a consolation final.
No, it doesn't. You're right. It's strong, isn't it? It's strong. Tarawood will is a new kid on the block. I mean, I've only ever seen him in the flesh once, Sarah. You've probably seen him a couple of times. All I will say is that times I've seen him on the stream, and he did it at Tir Prince last week. He skips on the gate, and then you think like it's a little bit of fun, give everyone else a chance. Then he gets down and just blows away from him, and he is a superb looking. He looks the real deal to me. Stone Riggs mystery type. At that age. But this is going to be a test for him, and I'd be interested. He doesn't want to be losing too much ground at the gate against this field. Lakeside Paddy, I'd have a decent bet with anyone now that he'll go 2 minutes post to post. Every week he comes to Tir Prince, he goes 2 minutes. Reed Star quality needs to behave itself. Has broke a couple of times. 2 starts ago, or 3 starts ago. Has broke quite badly the last couple of times. Needs to pace. GD's Hazard led everywhere but the line a couple of weeks ago. Help me out. I can't remember what come and beat it. But it led everywhere.
Pioneer,
it was Ayr Pioneer. Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Ayr Pioneer come and chinned him late on. He's followed that up with a 157 performance. And obviously, he's got, the maestro, Stephen Lee Sr. on him there, even though he is drawn out 6. Spring Hill Miss Kate. She started on the second line for the first time last week. And, she's a young horse, quite inexperienced, hasn't had many starts. And I think that probably showed a little bit with her last week. First time on the second line. She never quite got going. And Finley Wells ran a decent race last week. And I know Michael was quite upbeat about winning last week. She finished 4th, went well enough, but was drawn out in the car park there. I think Tarawood will be favourite. I think this is... He's going to be tested. He faces his first real test. I think it's a fascinating race, and at a price I would back GD's Hazard. Just after the way he went last time, I really like Stevie on him as a driver, and I think I can think he can beat his stablemate.
You've read this race exactly how I've read it. Spring Hill Miss Kate was really impressive the 2 previous weeks before last week, winning those 2 races, and I'm not sure what happened last week for her to have ended up 5th because I've not seen the race back myself, but she hasn't continued off the back of those 2 runs as well as I anticipated her doing it. Tarawood Will, for me, has been one of the standout up-and-coming horses of this season. Definitely was, he's been eye-catching with qualifiers. There was obviously the issues. He had that wind operation. He's come back and he just looks such an exciting horse for the future. I know Andrew Duran think a lot of him. Charlie, it's difficult to get any kind of real sense of, for want of a better. Yeah. I love Charlie, I really do, but Charlie seems to enjoy all the horses that he races, and I don't. He doesn't seem to let on that this one is any more exciting than any of the rest he's ever had. But to me, it's a very exciting prospect for next year because it's.
I think you might be being a bit coy there, Sarah, because I speak to Paul a fair bit, and I was told about this in sort of May time. So I think Charlie might be being a bit coy with the media there.
Charlie's playing the Joker of a trackside. Is that what you're saying? He's saying that Craig's not been able to fill out of him yet. Tyrewood, well, very, very exciting prospect. But you're right. I think this is possibly the biggest challenge he's faced so far. It's interesting. Andrew's taken the drive on Tyrewood. Will he's had that choice. GD's Hazard. I'm not sure how many times GD's Hazard has raced without Andrew partnering him. I don't. If I went back to his race record on the BHRC website, Stephen looks like he's just gone flying onto Google to do that. So you have a look for me, Stephen, and see how many times Harry's been driven by somebody other than Andrew Cairns. And then when I looked at this race, I mean, first of all, it's a quality race anyway. We've already discussed that. But the driver selection for GD's Hazard, for me, is absolutely inspired. Because that horse went 1:57.6 last week. That is his lifetime best. I still remember the first time that GD's Hazard went sub 2 minutes the first time. And his owner, Jerry Thompson, said, I think he was third or fourth. And Jerry was like, that's the first horse I've ever owned that's been sub 2 minutes. Now, I'm still waiting for that moment myself as an owner.
Me and you both. Yeah. Me and you both.
I could understand where she was coming from. I spoke to Jerry's husband, Dave, last week. He was second behind Cashel. He's gone 57.6. That must be heartbreaking in itself to have a horse, his personal best like that. It's shaved a good second, maybe slightly more off his personal best prior to that, and still just finished second. You know, what more has GD's Hazard got to do to win? I just think the form that he was in last week, the driver choice here, for me, Harry is going to be put about his work. He's really...
Once in 66 races.
Once in 66 races has GD's Hazard been driven by a driver other than Andrew Cairns. Now, for the bonus point, Stephen, who was the driver that drove him?
James Haythornthwaite.
Here we go. Stevie Lee, only the third driver in GD's Hazard's career, and he's a 6-year-old horse. It's only the third driver in Harry's career to sit behind him. I just think, for me, it's a potential partnership made in heaven here. I really do think, with the form that Harry comes into the race and the quality of the driver on board in this race, I just think the two of them could really do something quite special. And I would really like to see that for Dave and Jerry as well, because they've raced all season, they've not had the win yet. And then you're talking about also Lakeside Paddy, who's ultra consistent,
every week,
earlier in the season, and is capable of doing a solid 2-minute time as well. So it's an interesting race. I am still looking at Andrew doing the race, I have to say that. And I know if push came to shove, I would go with GD's Hazard, I think, because he's just got that touch more experience than Tyrewood Willis got in this class of race.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to that race. I expect a very fast first quarter.
Yeah.
We might all, Eric. And then race 6, the Tir Prince Trotter Gold Final. Before we even get started, I have got. There's a horse in this I really strongly fancy, but I'm going to let you.
Go on, then. You go. Go on, Sarah. You go first. Come on.
I want to listen to everything you two have got to say, and then I'll swoop in at the end and probably end up agreeing with what you've already said, because Eric just run on every single race so far tonight, and I think you picked every horse I would, there or thereabouts. But no, I'll start with you, Stephen. Obviously, you've got a horse in the race, Calamari Bruin. Not draw, obviously, but how do you fancy your chances?
I'm happy with that draw than I would be with the one. He doesn't like the inside. It's perfect distance for him. He likes the distance. He got Diamond Godrill was beat him last week at York. I think Godrill got the run of the race, but they went British record. Broadway de Bourg, he seems to be. He hasn't been on the scene for a while lately, so I'm not too sure about him, how he's been going at home. Universal Cat, the distance, I think he prefers going over the distance. I think this might just be a half a mile too short for him. And the ones that stand out are Birdie Match. He was staying on last time when Mike Evans drove in the Calamari Bruin when he won. Birdie Match was staying on there. I would have to go with ours, not being biased.
And of the ones you named there, but you kind of touched on a couple of horses there. Of those, which do you see as the biggest danger for your horse?
I would say Diamond Godrill if you get from there. Yeah, Diamond Godrill.
Right, Eric, I'll now let you go. Now that we've let Stephen's gone with
Yeah.
Right.
I'll go through the field. Universal Cat, the Iron Horse. I'm not convinced he's going to have quite enough toe in this race. I can see this. He's a great trotter, but I just think he might struggle for a bit of toe. If there was any justice, Birdie Match would win it because he's been unlucky the last couple of weeks. He had a double handful in the George Dixon Memorial, and Bellum de Bertrange broke in front of him. I think he would have gone very close that day. He couldn't quite get a trip in the 2 mile race the other week, a couple of weeks ago as well. He was a bit unlucky, and if he gets a bit of luck, he could go close. But I like Broadway de Bourg as a Tir Prince specialist, and I think that he's got that much toe earlier on, and Joby drives him so well at the track that I expect him to try and put. If he goes out and puts 7 or 8 lengths in between them at the outset, they struggle to make it up somehow at Tir Prince. They can't. If he puts that distance between them, they struggle to catch him. Aquila de Horty been performing really well. Look, Diamond de Godrell is one of my favourite horses in training. And I was absolutely delighted for the horse and for the connections when I seen that they broke the British record last week. It was the one race that I missed on the stream, actually, the Bowman or something. I watched every race apart from that one, and I was gutted to have missed it. So obviously, I think anything that finishes ahead of Diamond de Godrell will be the winner. Blasson, good old horse, always shows up. He's going to be there or thereabouts. Doesn't win very often, and I don't think Sunday will be his day either. Bernard de Boulay, I think, is the outsider of the field. Calamera Bruettes, we did a bit of filming when Cal Vorderman came to Tir Prince, and Stevie brought Reggie down. And on that day, I asked Steve Senior about Calamera Bruettes because he kept winning at York and breaking at Tir Prince. And I said, is it the surface? Is it a little bit hard for him here? And he said, I think it probably is. Well, that week, Adam Williams, the track owner, and Adam Jr., his son, they did a hell of a lot of work on the track. And the drivers were all complimenting that it was a bit softer. And obviously Mike Evans drove him, and literally he ended up parked for a 2 mile trip and looked like he could have done another 2 miles. He was so impressive that day. So the 8 draw won't bother him. The way he went over the 2 miles, he could sit out in 8 the whole way and still be somewhere there at the finish. He's a real top quality horse. It's a field that's got loads of depth, top quality trot, as good a trot as you'll see all season in terms of quality. But I'm going to go for Broadway de Bourg.
Yeah. You've made a strong case for a couple of horses there, Eric, and rightly so, to be honest. Broadway de Bourg's got that gate speed to get away. And as you said, you don't want to let that horse go too far ahead, because whilst previously we thought maybe he is a bit of a sprinter, he has proved at Tir Prince that he can see the distance out. So to let him go lengths clear is not a wise move. But equally, with some of these horses, it's not a case of letting him go lengths clear. They have no choice because they don't have that speed to match him at the gate. Once he gets up to cruising speed, then you're kind of having to grind away at that distance that he's put between you. Diamond de Godrell last week, to me, was as impressive a record breaker as I think I've ever seen, because the horse never looked to be under any real pressure. I wasn't aware of what the record was when it was broken. There were people kind of shouting, it's a track record, it's this, it's that. He was very, very impressive, and Calamera Bruet perhaps got lost in the mix of that a little bit because of the event of breaking the record. But Calamera Bruet actually finished very, very strong in that race in second. Was in front of Blasson, who finished third. A very strong finisher, and
they were all 3.6. They were all under 3.7. Yeah,
exactly. So you can't discount that. And as we've talked about with the draw and everything else, it's not going to bother Stevie and Calamera to be sitting off the pace a little bit. Equally, the key really here is what Joby Randall does with Broadway de Bourg in the early part of the race, because there's some horses in this race that cannot be put under too much pressure in a fast first quarter because they don't have that turn of foot. And that's when these trotters tend to make mistakes and break. We've seen it with Calamera breaking into a first bend at Tir Prince before. We've seen horses, they start that shuffle, they get uncomfortable, and you're at risk of disqualification over 1.5 miles. You don't want to be, knocking yourself out of the race so early on. But at the same time, you cannot let Broadway de Bourg put too much distance between them.
That's right, because it can be over. It'll be over early otherwise.
Exactly, and you've got horses like Universal Cat, who to me are stronger in the latter part of a race than the early part. So how much fight there's going to be for Broadway to Broad getting to the end. I personally don't see much of a battle. I think the horse can get the lead very easily. And then, like I say, it comes down to what Joby decides to do there, whether he tries to stretch them early, knowing that he's got a horse that probably will see out the distance and try and make them come at him. But head and heart for me, Diamante Cadrell, I've got to go with him off the back of that run at York last week. I just think coming into a race with the form he's in, that makes him the stuff contender, and ultimately I just really want to win it. I'm really biased.
Yeah.
Darren's not here for the longest weekend, but I've gone really, really hard on some horses tonight. Darren's always like slagging me off because I just defence and say about 4 or 5 horses in a race, but tonight I'm like, no, I'm picking this one.
Yeah, I'll just finish by saying there that I've really enjoyed the Trotter Gold series as well. I put it on to towards the end of the season, a little bit something different for the trotters to go at, and they've been good races. So I think that field there is fitting for a final for any series, really. I wouldn't mind taking any one of them trotters off the track. They're all good horses.
I wouldn't disagree with you, Eric. And look, nobody loves a series more than I do. There's something about the way a series builds. Not everyone, but a lot of people like heats in a final on a day. And don't get me wrong, I'm one of them. But there's something about when you've got qualifying legs or heats or divisions, whatever you want to call them, over a period of time leading up to a final. I've done it with the Mare Series at Corbywood. We do it with the Stowey Mare Series across the country. Historically, the Clock of Gold has always been like that. You've just got those builder kind of legs that lead up to a final, and that both the Star Makers and the Trot of Gold, that has been what's led to the meeting on Sunday, and it just builds that anticipation and the excitement, and different people get a chance at winning the races leading up to that final, and you just get a lot of informed horses come into a race together, and it can make for something really good on the last day.
Definitely.
And that
I will say that has been good.
Stephen.
The series have been good. That Star Maker's been absolutely perfect for Reggie. It's absolutely fitted in brilliant. It has done me perfect.
What you need to do now is win it.
No pressure at all. No pressure at all.
You've done,
You've done all the hard work. The Sunday is the big day. This is when the weight is on your shoulders now. I want to see you in the zone. When I'm standing trackside and you're parading, no waving at me, no smiling, no thumbs up, in the zone. Yeah. I don't want you to recognise me. I don't want you to be seen. I want you straight ahead, focused. Now that sums up Tir Prince on Sunday. Obviously, we've got another race meeting this weekend at York. I spoke to Stephen earlier on. There's no horses coming from the Lees stable up to York on Saturday. Obviously, Eric, you won't be making the trip up either. I will be at York tomorrow because it is Friday. I just remembered it is Friday. We've got 6 races at York tomorrow. It's actually the last race meeting of the season at York. On what's been quite a good season, all in. Obviously, difficult circumstances for all the tracks, but at York, I've been heavily involved with a few different things going on at York. In particular, the Northern Standardbred Committee bonus scheme with the prize money, which a number of people paid into at the start of the season, minimum of £250. Some people paid more than that, and that money is paid out on a weekly basis to the eligible horses as a bonus on top of the prize money that was put on by the track, which has just been the entry fees. It's obviously boost that, so that people were racing for than just the money they put in themselves. It was been well received. It's worked out every week. We've paid out £600, £800, £1,000, £1,200, £1,400, down to that £100 for this weekend. So it's going to be £150 per race for eligible races. We also have sponsored races in the Trot, and also thanks to Henry and Howlin Bullman and family from Ceredigion Trotting Club sponsoring a non-winners race, which will be the final race of York this evening. I don't know if either of you two have had a chance to look through the York card or not.
I have, yeah. I've been through it, yeah.
Stephen's got the computer in front of him anyway. He's picking away there, giving all sorts of facts and information, so I know you can just whiz through it as well. We'll just go through the races quickly then. Race 1 is an open preferred grades 1 and 2, 8 horses across those 2 grades. I'll tell you what I think. I'll lead on York. I've seen quite a lot of these horses, both at Corbywood and at York. Zip Car 1 has been a winner the last twice at York, and quite impressive. He was impressive the first time. He was equally as impressive the second time last week with Grant dropping him. I think this week it's a slightly different challenge for him because he is drawn 7, so he's on the second line. He's not getting the gate starting position that he had last week. So he's obviously got more traffic to pass in front of him. Interesting to see Air Elegance in this race as well. She's also entered a race at Tir Prince on the Sunday. We mentioned she's in that preferred race 3. on the Sunday as well. So it'll be interesting to see if she runs in both of them, one or the other.
Yep.
Just have to wait and see whether she's a declaration for those. Of the horses on the gate, one that kind of sticks out for me a little bit is Dreamfair Duke. He won heat and final at Corbywood a couple of weeks ago. He actually won the final with Mick Grelis, the C-Class driver, driving him. It was in that particular race. Hugh-Mingers, I think Hamish Muirhead had qualified 3 for the final. And Hugh-Mingers, who's obviously a stable driver, had taken the drive on Cash All. He fancied the horse. And Mick Grelis was on Dreamfair Duke and won the final, basically. So I just think the horse is in a little bit of form. And people say he's gone better at York than he's gone at Corbywood. He's gone well at Corbywood as well now. So for me, he's a horse that's won at the track. He's a horse that's won with the driver that's driving him, albeit at Corbywood. I just think the fact he's on the gate because he is getting that the 2-grade lift from having a C-Class driver. I just think maybe he's in with a bit of a chance there in this company.
Yeah, just digressing slightly there. He gets a lot of good horses, the stallion Dreamfair Vogel, doesn't he? Dreamfair Vogel.
Yes, he has. Over the years.
Amount of times I look at a horse and I think, oh, that's a decent racehorse, and it's by him. It's worth a mention.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what are your fancies here? Moving away from breeding, I've not got my stag bee head on. I've got my BHRC.
No, it was just a quick one. Let's just run through them. Lions Rosella been going okay. Solid 2-2. Don't fancy drawn one, but I think there's 1 or 2 better than her in this. Action Jackson obviously won, I think, a maiden earlier on in the season there. Air Elegance, she's getting. I mean, she probably did the best clock that she's done last week. 2-1 dead there. I'm just looking at it. Dreamfair Duke, I'm with you. He looks a really fun horse, and he's going to win plenty more races. But for me, even from the 7 draw, based on last week's performance, and the Taft stable is still in fairly good form. I think he's good enough for Grant to take him, or going good enough for Grant to take him round the field and win.
You're going Zip
Car
one. I've gone strongly with Duke and Mick Grelis, only because I got really excited last week. I thought Mick Grelis was driving Cash All. I thought if we're on the last bend that Mick Grelis was sitting 3 wide, absolutely cruising past Rocky Mambo, and I thought, Mick, this is your time to shine, mate. And it was Michael O'Mahony. I mean, similar kind of, but I was disappointed that it wasn't Mick Grelis. I was about to ask Stephen what his fancy in the race was, but he's disappointed.
My phone's about to die, that's all.
He's in the back. There he is. He's there somewhere. Do you have a particular fancy in the race, Stephen, or not?
Have I died?
We've lost him completely now. We've just got a picture. There's a lot of pictures that I've taken of Stephen as well. We'll continue without Stephen for now because he might come back onto the screen at some point.
Zip back in, yeah.
Yeah, race.
So I've Zip Car 1 and you Dreamfair Duke, yeah?
Yeah, that's how I see it.
No problem.
Now it's disappeared. Right, there we go. Race. Here we go. Admit he's coming back in. We're getting him back. This is Darren goes and this all falls apart apparently.
Yeah, he's back. He's back, Steve. Don't worry.
I'm going to remove him because I've got him in. Right, remove.
Sorry.
There we go. He's back. He's back.
Nothing died.
That's okay. Did you have a strong fancy in race 1 or not?
Yeah. Zip Car 1. I'd have to eat.
So it's 2 against 1 here. You're both going Zip Car. Don't worry, I do fancy Zip Car 1. I do think he is the class horse in the field, but I'm going with Mick Grelis. I think Mick Grelis is a C-Class driver on a roll right now. Race 2, another preferred race, grades 3 to 6, 7 horses in this race. Having just a quick scan through. Again, with JM's Macy Hallstar entered here to race. She's supposed to be racing the following day at Tir Prince.
And Hazard, and GD's Hazard.
And GD's Hazard as well. So we don't know whether these horses are going to be, are they doubling up this weekend? Are they not? We're going to have to wait and see.
I think they plan to.
There are a lot of horses on the cards that are going Tir Prince and York, I've noticed. And there's a lot of racing twice on the day at York.
These could be prep runs for the Sunday. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, Loose Change, she was second last week to Meriton moving up. I thought she ran a really, really good race with Michael O'Mahony driving. I think maybe Michael felt after the race that he'd like the chance to drive her again and drive that race again. Whether he thought perhaps he would have driven slightly differently, I don't know. I don't think had he driven the race any differently, the outcome would have been any different. I do think Meriton moving up had the race sewn up and probably was the better horse than Loose Change on the day. But she has run some fantastic races at York in the last few weeks. She's she's a quality mare anyway, but she had hit a patch of form at York. Again, we talked about Judy's Hazard when we were talking about the Tir Prince card. You know, if he can replicate a time like that this week, I think he wins that race. And then you've obviously got the Lion King, driven by William Lader Jr. this time, which is his partner Freya's favourite horse in the stable. I have been tasked with getting a photo of those two together because she would like a photo of the pair of them in a race. Now, he's also a quality horse. So to me, it's a strong race. As with preferred races in general, particularly at places like York and Tir Prince, I am looking at as well, really. I am looking at those higher grade horses in these races. I do think that they are higher grade for a reason. So if you were making me pick, for me, it's probably GD's Hazard and Loose Change are the two that I'd kind of fancy there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, very, very similar. James Macy's Hall Start goes well around York. Hazard obviously got 57 last week. Louise really, it's probably a bit of a slight drop in class maybe. If she was second to moving up last week, you'd have to say that this is, there's not, Many to moving up is going to be probably competing in the Crock of Gold, isn't he, next week, and probably will be somewhere near favourite. So if you consider that, she was second to him last week, I think that represents the best form in the race, regardless of time. And I did have a little bet on her at 10-1 when they raced at York without the starting gate. I just fancied her to get away and not get caught. So I should stick with her, really, because she won me a few quid that day.
There we go. So it wasn't so much Loose Change as pockets full of money for Eric that day.
Yeah.
Steve, if you had a quick scan through this, if you were going to pick one, where would you go?
I said I think go with Eric. Loose Change when she married to moving up came. The way I've never actually noticed she was always in the shadow of Newtown Jody as a youngster. But when she went at York, I just saw, when you see a different side to an horse, it was just, I didn't even think Married to Moving Up won the race. When you think, I just couldn't believe how good she went. Yeah. I didn't notice it before that.
Definitely. She's run some really good races at York this year. She's previously run good races both at York and Tir Prince as well. So she's
Derby winner, Breeders' Crown.
Yeah,
she's
good.
good.
The day that she won at York, she didn't go in that mare's final, the Stagby mare's final, but she is a mare that I would imagine that Bob and Hamish will probably look to put into those Stagby series next year, because she's
definitely
the best of them, both mares and geldings. Race 3, we're running in lines this time because we have a greater split in grades. We've got 6 horses: Lions Queen and Cash All on the first line, Bobby Camden, Rob Hall on the second line, and Spring Hill Glory on the third line, American Moving on the fourth line. Rob Hall getting a 2-grade lift there because Mick Grellis takes the drive. Good use of a C-class driver there. I'm not going to lead on this race. Although maybe I should. Maybe I should lead on this race. No, I'm not going to lead on this race. I'm going to let you go this time. I want to see what you pick, either of you. Eric, I'll go to you first. How do you feel panning out?
They can be tricky to work out the form in when they start in lines. Many to Moving Up, it was 1.25 miles last week, and he was able to get to the front really quickly and showed his class. I think they'll be anxious to keep him fully tuned up ahead of the Billy Williams Memorial Crock of Gold next week. I don't think they'll be looking to choose. I don't think they'll be looking just for him to. They'll want to keep him on top of his game, basically, because he's got a hard race next week, hasn't he? And they'll want him to win that, basically. So I think they'll be every bit as keen to win this week as they were last week, as they are every race. He's got a little bit more quality in front of him today. Lions Queen, obviously, I really like her. She has had a couple of little setbacks, though. So I know she's had a little bit of a swollen leg. So that would be the only question mark that I'd have next to her. She's had a bit of a break there. I think they scratched her last week, didn't they, Sarah?
Yeah, she was on run last week,
Yeah, well, they scratched her last week, so I'll be interested to see whether she runs. Obviously, Cash Hall, blooming heck. What she go 50, broke the 57 marker last week. I love, obviously, you know him better than me, but I deal with everybody in this job, and Hamish is right up there with the best of them. Absolute gentleman to deal with. So it's great to see him having the winners that he has, and to see him have a horse go free for all time last week. I couldn't have been any more pleased. So for me, I'm narrowing it down to Cashall or Merrington moving up, but I'm going to go with moving up again. I think he's good enough to come off there and do it, and I think they'll have him fully tuned up again, ready for next week.
Stephen, do you see the race any differently? Is it, would you go for a different pick for moving up, or would you stick with him?
I could see Rocker moving early again like he did last week, but I'd go with moving up. But Cashall is likely to come on late. It's close. It's between them two. It'd be a good race, that.
I do think, I have to agree, I think it is a good race. And you've got to remember that Bobby Camden, if there is early pace in the race anywhere, and Lions Queen would maybe, if she does run, would be looking to put that early pace into the race. She is quick away. She likes to be in front as well. She has got that good draw. And I think she's inclined to lead Cashall out. I don't know if you can rush Cashall as much as you can rush Lions Queen. You bring into the race horses like Bobby Camden, American moving up, the horses that finish very strong. But American, as you say, Rocker might make an early move like he did last week, in which case it changed the dynamic of the race altogether. But it's a fascinating race on paper. It will be a good race, although it's a small field. It'll be good.
It's a quality field, that is. A real quality field. I mean, like you say, Rob Hall's getting a 2-grade drop there. I wouldn't be completely surprised to see any one of them win it, to be honest with you. I know I've made my selection, but I wouldn't be completely surprised to see any one of them win it.
No, I think if you were making me pick, I'd probably say American moving up, but it's a quality race. Race 4, maiden and novice. 5 horses here, Lions, Wincups, Jackson Hall, Raymond Camden, Colford Mission, Excitable. Now, Jackson Hall and Raymond Camden were in a race together last week. Raymond Camden was the winner of that. He's a maiden that moves up into the novice ranks. Colford Mission had run well on his first start for the swim banks. Maybe hasn't gone quite so good the last twice after that, but maybe will bounce back a little bit. Excitable went well at Tir Prince, won.
Won.
She was my nap at the meeting last week, and was involved in a bit of an incident when I think Lions Wincups went off.
He was, got spilled out the cart, didn't he? Yeah.
Just won it.
A little bit of squeaky bum time. I was a little bit scared when he rolled across the track.
And then he casually went and broke the track record a couple of races later.
Casual as you like. I kept saying on Facebook that he bounced so well that he bounced into the winner's circle later on.
Yeah, you did.
He wasn't casual the day after at Tir Prince.
No, he wasn't casual.
He made more aches and groans than my dad.
He wasn't casual that night either. I think I kept texting him saying Epsom salts in the bath and go to bed. Not that he paid any attention to me at all. Here in this race now, obviously, Lions Wincups is on the gate itself. It's not a horse that I particularly like.
No.
It looks to me to be a little unlevel at times. But on the gate itself, it's got all the room and the freedom to get away. Perhaps the race will pan out slightly differently for it. For me, I think all 4 of the novice horses really are capable of coming and taking a crack at it.
Definitely.
To me, it's possibly Lions Wincup's best chance because it's got the advantage on the gate, but I just don't trust it enough. I think it's capable of making a mistake.
I'm going to give him one more chance. I fancied him last week. He led, and then once he led on the form that Grant's been in, form that Dave Taft's in, I thought he was a winner. And then he dropped the bit. Went from first to last, seemed to completely lose interest. I actually thought something had gone wrong. And then when they started coming back to him towards the end of the race, he picked the bit back up and was only a narrow bit in second. He come back up the inside. I think he's just a young, inexperienced horse, doesn't quite know his job yet. Obviously, they'll be putting a lot of work into him. But from where he starts, I'm willing to give him one more chance, and I'll go with him tomorrow.
Right, it's just back up on my screen. We have a 5-minute warning. This is our second attempt as well. Hopefully, if you're watching, they don't realise how I seamlessly edited it together. So we're going to jump straight through to race 5 because we have 5 minutes to get through the last 2 races.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. We're going to rush this. Right, we've got a 9, and it's like 9 horses and 10 horses. We've got a 9-horse trot. Right, Eric, I'm not letting you go through all of them. I want you to pick me the winner of this 9-horse trot over a mile and a quarter. Go.
The winner of that tomorrow is Encore's Son. He was backed from 5 to 2 to 4 to 6. Off course last week with Star Sports, strongly fancied, and he trotted out nice, led but broke straight away. I think Phil O'Neill jumps on him tomorrow, and I think that this horse must have showed something to his connection somewhere, because there was quite a plunge for him last week, and I expect him to win tomorrow.
I have to 100% agree with you. I strongly fancied the horse last week off the back of a qualifier, and it just went wrong very quickly.
Yeah.
The driver change speaks volumes to me completely. Phil has had a tremendous season. We mentioned it earlier. To me, Encore Sun has to be the favourite in that race, and realistically, to me, is the winner of it. And that doesn't take anything away from the other horses at all. It's just the what I saw in a qualifier, and that combined with the driver change with Phil O'Neill, to me, I think it's the job's on tomorrow. That's how I'm going to put it. I don't think they'll get a decent price for transport tomorrow at all, and I don't think they'll get a decent price for the track with Maze either.
No. It'd be a shade of odds on tomorrow.
Yes, I agree with you. Stephen, have you anything to add on that? Can you disagree with us on that trotter or not? Is there anything else you fancy?
Like you say, Encore Sun, I watched that qualify. If it does make a skip, it's like another French one that's bugger to get down. But Eva Torres, she's been winning she's won with Joe on and with Aaron on. I fancied her. Seems to, when she's got her head in front, she's a good hard mare to stop going.
No, you're right. She's reliable. We'll put Eva Torres in the mix as well, and maybe Esther De Fornay. I've got a sneaky for Esther De Fornay maybe to pick up a bit of prize money as well in the first 3 or 4. And then that leads us on to the last race of the York season. The non-winners of less than £600 or 2 wins at York this season. It's a condition I don't understand. We have just under 3 minutes left. 10 horses, some of which have raced earlier in the card. I cannot believe that GD's Hazard is racing 3 times in the weekend. I just don't believe that's happening. So I'm not even going to give GD's.
Something's going to give somewhere.
I think I'm personally going to go with Spring Hill Glory. Knocking on the door all the time. I'm going Spring Hill Glory for this one. Give me a different one, Eric. Don't laugh.
I was going to go with Spring Hill Glory, but I will go with Rob Hall.
You're going Rob Hall.
I will go with Rob Hall. Yeah.
We don't even need to justify these horses because we're talking household names here. We know what they are. We know what they are.
Of course they are.
Stephen,
definitely, yeah.
Are you going to go
like next generation?
You're going with the old campaign of the 14-year-old Next Generation and Kelly
He's
Peters.
Nearly older than you, Stephen.
He's a lovely old. So he's a really nice, and I'd like to see him win. He won with Catherine, but his 2-minute horse is a brilliant horse. And off
He's
the
been
front,
a brilliant servant.
This is
a great
Kelly's
horse.
opportunity. Last meeting of the season at York. You think this is Kelly's opportunity to draw level with Catherine with wins on Next Generation?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Rob Hall, he's a good horse, but he's off line 7. If they get going up front, he might come on, stay on late. But I'm going to go Next Generation. I'd love to see Dave Taff win. That is something I'd love to see him winning that.
And that's it. See, that just proves that we are capable of actually doing a race in less than 5 minutes. We haven't gone through all the runners. I'm now flashing up saying I've got 1.5 minutes left to wrap this up. It's been so unprofessional without Darren. It's unreal. I ran out of wine a long time ago. But we have covered both meetings across the weekend. It's an 11 o'clock start at York tomorrow, and it's a 12 p.m. midday start at Tir Prince on Sunday. Obviously, Wales is in full lockdown now, so you'd have seen all the posts on Facebook. Trainers, drivers, grooms only, officials, no owners, don't turn up, obviously. It's now flashed up and said less than 1 minute, which has given me heart palpitations. So, Eric, 10 seconds, say something to the people who are watching this as your goodbye for the night.
When travelling to Tir Prince on Sunday, can you make sure you are carrying identification? North Wales Police have been really helpful. Phoned us back about 3 times today. We've got full authorisation to race. If you are stopped, you need to tell them who you are and where you're going, and you'll be allowed to pass.
There we go. Thank you, Eric. Stephen, again, for the 15th time today, happy birthday. Hope you had a great day.
Yes, happy birthday.
I'll be there on Sunday to take your picture. Hopefully you're in the winner's circle. And before this kicks us out, I'm going to say goodbye because it'd be really awkward if it just goes to a blank screen. So everybody,
thank you.
goodbye.
See you soon.
Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you at the weekend.
Bye now.